Clonea School was opened in the 1870s, and it was transformed into a parish hall in the 1970s, when the new school was built up the road. Right, my name is Dolores O'Brien. I went to school in this school. In the other classroom was the only room I was in. Was here until I was about 10, and then we moved up to the new school. Memories of the school, they were all good. Can't remember anything bad. The teachers were Miss Power, Mrs. O'Hare, Sean Prendergast, and the other teacher, I just can't, the name won't come to me. Yeah, we moved up to the new school in 77, and Sean Prendergast was the teacher, was the principal at that time, until he retired.
So you went to school in the old building?
In Clonea.
In
the old building, and taught for a year there.
Right.
Because I went back there in 1976, and the new school was in preparation, and by the time that was ready, it was the following September before. My earliest memory was my mother bringing me down to school. I was an only child, and she brought me down on the carrier of the bike, and it was all downhill from Kilkenny. It's on the crest of the hill, actually, of the road, almost. And we had the two hills. Kit Rue's hill, whoever Kit Rue was an old house. You could see the ruin of the house on the top of the hill, and we call it Kit's Hill. Didn't bother with the Rua. She must have had red hair. She was called Kit Rue. And the other one was called Brian's Hill, because O'Brien's lived in a cottage just at the top of the hill there, which was a shorter hill, but steeper. And you had a bike. I got a bike when I was about 10, I suppose, or 9 or 10, to go to school on. My aunt bought it for me. And right in the morning you went down, you didn't have to pedal going down. But going back, you walk most of the way and push the bike. Margaret O'Sullivan, she was Margaret Kirby. Kirby's a woman. She introduced two of us together. First thing I didn't like about Margaret was she got my chin. She lift up your face, she said. Straight away I didn't like that.
I can remember the first day I came to school. She was Margaret Kirby. I could remember she gave me a right stern look. She gave me. At least I thought it was. But I never forgot that.
Paddy Joe Sullivan and Mrs. Sullivan was the small boys' school, I suppose. I remember being in there, didn't like her. Didn't like Paddy Joe either. I wasn't the best scholar in the world then.
Were they tough?
It was tough, yeah. But now we deserved it. If we got a belt of the stick, we deserved it.
So it was both the Sullivans were teaching there?
Both the Sullivans when I started there, Margaret and Paddy Joe.
And they both taught you?
And they both taught me, and then I took their place. 20, I was 76. Yeah, 76 I went back there to teach, and they were just leaving them. Okay. Because Father Willie Power was the parish priest there, and we knew him very well. He used to call in now and again. And he said to me one day, would you like a nice school now? I was teaching in Mahana. Anyway, how do you mean, Father? And he said, Clonea Power is going to be up for grabs. Both teachers are retiring together, Margaret and Paddy Joe. So thought for a while. Didn't take me long to think about it. I can go back to an old school that I went to myself, so it's interesting and it is attractive, and so I went back there. And then David came the whole time.
Yeah.
He's our youngest.
Your own sons.
Yes.
Yes.
David turned up 10 years after the other two. I didn't recover for a long time,
That's a shock. it was being amalgamated from a girls' school and a boys' school in Clonea. You know the building?
Yeah, oh yes.
The two buildings.
Yes.
But when you went in the centre door, you went to the left for the boys and to the right for the girls. And the playgrounds were more or less, they were separate, but at the same time, you can't stop boys and girls from mingling and teasing each other and, you know, all that. So, and we shared the 4 rooms that were there before were for two teacher schools. Then it became 4 teacher school mixed.
You remember going to school here?
Oh, I do, yeah. But I don't remember exactly what age I was, but we'd say I was 4 years old, I suppose. And the school teacher that was there then was Miss Kirby, Margaret Kirby. She was teaching me until I was about, when I was in the small boys' school, until I was about 8, I suppose, before Paddy Joe came. Infants, 1st class and 2nd class. Then the 3rd class went out to Paddy Joe's, we call him. But with we had an ass and car. We used to all be put into the cart and sent to school. And there'd be nobody hardly here. Because it was a handy way of getting rid of us for the day, I suppose. Paddy Joe was here for a year before I went out to him. Because I could remember he used to be shouting, Cunis, Cunis. Cunis, that's all you'd hear. And I was telling Johnny about a story about Johnny Keane. Johnny, he turned out to be the smith after. He had plenty of brains, but he was a fairly big. When Paddy Joe came, he was sitting down the corner, and he said to whoever was in the desk with him, I know it, Paddy Cusick. Oh God, he said, he's only a small little fella. That was Paddy Joe. So Johnny had a Jew's harp, and he was able to play the Jew's harp. So sometime after Paddy Joe went out to talk to someone, and when he came in, Johnny was playing the Jew's harp. And he took the Jew's harp off him, and he put it in the drawer under the table, and he went out again sometime after. And Johnny went up and took out the Jew's harp. And he was playing it when the man came in. And he called him up and gave him several slaps. And he said, I might be small, he said, but I'm effective. And so Willie was another.
Yeah.
Willie used to be making little lead horseshoes under the desk when he was going to school.
Yeah.
Whatever he'd get to learn, he'd have it learned. He used to be making these little lead horseshoes.
That's right.
What year?
1938. Yeah.
But you were lucky enough you had Mick going before
Oh,
you.
I had it Frank, yeah.
But I had no one.
You had nobody.
No, I didn't. I was lost, I remember, when I went to school. For a long time. Because I didn't know
You were
anyone.
the oldest of the family, like.
I didn't know anyone.
You were starting off,
The first day I started, I'd say Paddy Joe came. No, I was a year in school when Paddy Joe came, yeah. But he wasn't long here when they got married, you know, yeah.
Aaron was here before that.
Yeah, he was a Limerick man,
A
yeah.
big man, yeah.
Yeah.
He was well able to use the cane too, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
really. Did you like school, Johnny?
Oh, I did. I didn't mind it at all, yeah. We never missed any time, yeah.
And how did you come?
I had a brother Frank down here, and you couldn't get him going off down the Glenhill. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, we walked and we would come through the fields. We must make a shortcut through Flynn's field. There was a style. We wouldn't go up to the road at all. And even wet weather, we'd cross the fields. Yeah.
Would
Would your feet not be wet?
Ah, you wouldn't mind it. There were a wet field and we had stones. We'd walk on the stones but we even if it was wet, we'd cross the fields just to make the shortcut. Yeah.
We all went through the field.
Yeah.
We all walked to school here, no such thing as transport then. Summer or winter, it was the same thing. You had to floods the roads and wet, hail, rain or snow, yeah, we had to be here, like, you know. But
We lived over in Crockboreen, and about a mile and a half, I suppose, to school here. But we crossed the fields, cut it down to about a mile.
You know, when you go hurling then at playtime up in the field,
Yeah, yeah.
playing handball, Forden's field,
Across the river.
across the river, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
And did you play handball?
Handball I did, yeah. Mostly in the evenings, you play handball, yeah.
They was play handball there in the nights, too.
Oh, the men used to play, yeah. They'd have money on it.
Yeah. With it?
Oh, there were some good handballers there, yeah. Great handballers.
Bill Power and
You'd
Christine.
have to go down to the devotions then, when the devotions would be on. Father Nugent was the parish priest. He was a relation of Jeffy's.
He was my mother's uncle.
Yeah, his mother's uncle, yeah. He used to have parties over in the house, you know. The people would be on the committee, they were a committee. So my father went to that party, and they'd be carping and talking, but he came home anyway, and he was putting the hat on the Sunday after going to Mass, and my mother said, "That's not your hat at all." It was Tom Sheehan's hat he was at the bring home. Yeah, but it was a good one.
And where was the house? Where was the priest's house?
Over in Mothel.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
and you named some of them in that.
No, I could, yeah. But I'm kind of blind. Larry Meehan, Nicholas Wade, Mikey Connolly, Paddy Mansfield, Tony Mackey, Johnny Kane, they was called him Superman. Dan Purcell, Paddy Britt, I'd say, Frank Mulligan, Johnny Bryan, Tom Cusick, Jimmy Keane, and Willie Boland. Mick Boland, Bernie Smith and Jim. They were boarded out now.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
They were reared above Hunt with John Purcell. And they were wicked well reared. They were, Mrs. Hunt was a great woman. Yeah. Mrs. Hunt was Dan's aunt.
Okay.
And Martin Corden, John Pendergast, he was a school teacher hereafter.
Yeah.
And what he has to my brother. Yeah.
Lock out then. Keep him locked out.
I remember him, he was a bit behind me, all right.
I was a bit behind this man. I'm only still a youngster and he's not.
I'm on the pension longer than you.
Yeah. You sure have, John.
I've been around a bit, all right, but I'm still where I was born.
You're still living
All
in
right.
this home.
Farm kind of got handed down, and now it's handed down again, so I'm, as I say, retired. But I don't know now whether I should talk about something else rather than wildlife here. But it's public at the moment. The architect of the church, J.J. McCarthy, and now discovering that he was also the architect of this school. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. I only heard that the other day. But he would be great-great-grandfather of my wife, J.J. McCarthy. Now, she's a Monaghan woman because McCarthy was doing the cathedral in Monaghan, and he fell off the scaffolding over the high altar at some stage checking it, and he didn't do any more work worthwhile after that. And we were married a while before we realised that we're the same architect in the two places. So that's outside of the school, but Jim McCarthy was here. As regards the school, anyway, John Cusick sure was ahead of us.
I would be, yeah.
But we looked up to him when we were swinging hurleys. It was always,
Have no doubt
like John Cusick.
Have no doubt they did, sure, wasn't he? Wasn't he the first Clonea man to win in all Ireland?
Yeah, and Paddy sure played for the team for a couple of times as well.
Oh, well,
Paddy
he played
Cusick.
with them, but he didn't play with Waterford, though, did he?
But then there's
John did.
another man. He was a bishop, Bishop Edward Barron.
he tried to bring the Catholic faith to Africa, but where they went and started off teaching was around the equator, which is known as the white man's grave. He had 4 priests going over with him, and I think they all died. He was the only one that got back alive out of it. Then he made a second go at the history, going over there again, but he was born above my house in 1801. And he died in 1854 due to a hurricane that struck Savannah, where he was staying at the time. And he was helping a bishop out there, and the roof blew off the house. So they took Barn out to one house that didn't lose its roof, who happened to be a Prendergast, which I think was also from here. And Barn died before the morning was out. We didn't come into the house until the late 1800s. Barn was born in 1801, and all the barns were gone out of it by the 1860s, I think. Because Barn they were a landlord family, and he had an income from that. But before he died in 1854, there was no income coming, so the barns must have been gone out of it by then. My family didn't come into it until the 1870s. It was rented out by landlords, but it wasn't the barn landlords were there. And as my time here at school, I don't know much about it.
Pardon?
As my time here in school, I don't know much about it.
And he was don't, because we didn't want to remember.
I was trying to get out.
We were happier outside than what we were inside anyway.
I'm too heavy to sit here, so.
Look, get your big ass in.
I'm here, am I? Right. Oh, Jesus. Right.
I started school here at 6 years of age. I left when I was 14. There were good days and bad days, pleasant days and teary days. But I hold no grudge to no one. I was a bit of a giddy fella myself, so. And we used to play football out in the yard, and then we'd done a bit of hurling above and forward field. And I used to think the water out of the river blowing every time, and the cattle used to be in it above at the top. But we had to think we had no water to drink here. But I left when I was 14, and I was glad to get out of here, because I didn't like school anyhow. But them days are behind us, and a lot more days longer. Johnny Dempsey was another great friend of Dr. Milston. He's dead and gone. Johnny used to make me laugh in the class. He used making faces, and I start laughing, then I get the stick. Johnny laughed mad over I get the stick. Which is a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, and me come Annie, up in Ballyknob, not too far away from Rose there. And same as Johnny said, we went to school together here. Lot of our good memories of that thing, but we got out as quick as we could. And we left the history to someone else. I suppose we all made our own way through life, and this is where I'm delighted that we could come back now and see it today, because there's an awful lot of history in the building itself, and we have a lot of forces there which we'll probably get an opportunity to show later on, because a lot of people will be coming in and out here that could trace back their relatives, like, you know, and friends, and they're there in them forces, so we'll be hoping to be able to go through them. And there's an awful lot of people that could come down and come back to the old place that they went to school, and they have their own stories to tell, the same as we had, like, you know. And thanks be to God, we had the opportunity, the same as Johnny said, we had the opportunity. All my family ended up in England as well, my brothers and sisters. They ended up in England. But we were one of the lucky ones. We stayed and we got employment. And what stood to us, Johnny worked for years and years in the bakery in Portlaw, and I was for years and years in Irish Leathers in Portlaw. So that's what kept us around. Otherwise we were gone as well, like, you know. There was nothing else around. You had the farmers that kept a few young lads that were coming up in employment. But then when you see there was nothing on the farms as well, you had to go somewhere else, like. And the sad thing about every parish was the emigration. You had to emigrate, you had nothing else. Until the factories came along, and thanks be to God, we fared out all right, like, you know. We married locally, reared our family locally, and that stood to us, like. Otherwise we'd have been overseas as well, like, you know. We were great friends, we're still great friends, went to school together, and then became involved in the old GAA, which we still are, still involved in the GAA today.
We put up our hands to get the field here.
Johnny has sons that played the game, I have sons that played the game, and we're still involved in the GAA. So we were brought up with the GAA and we'll die with the GAA. So that's about all I have to say on it, lads. Yeah.
My name is Sean O'Brien. My nickname in school was Spud. Shouldn't have said that, should I? But anyway, it didn't matter, like, you know. But I was only about 14 and a half when I Creative Power, Clonea picked me up on the road and said, "You're too old now to be going to school, you could help me in over on the farm." Yeah. So he went up to my mother with me and up to Passy Tom's, as he was called, like, you know, up there, and worked there for about 8 or 9 months. I couldn't stick him any longer. But that was about it. I walked around down to a few more farmers from time to time, and I was gone to England at about 17 and a half, where I joined the British Army eventually, stayed there for 9 years, came home then, and myself and the wife got a job at McInerney Construction, and I was there for 36 years. But I retired from there now, 15 or 16 years. And I'm at my leisure now.
Now, I'm Lily O'Donnell, Nee Kavanagh. I lived a couple of miles up the road. I remember going to school here well, and I remember using the dip pen. It was held here, and you dipped into the ink, and the bottle of ink was kept in that press there, and it filled up every so often, you know. I remember Miss Tracy in the junior school. She had a writing competition one time, and Mary Butler and I won the prizes for the best handwriting. God, that's a long time ago now. But talking about writing, I ended up doing a lot of calligraphy after that, you know, for many years. But from Clonea, then I went to the Convent of Mercy in Carrick. I did my leaving there, and then I went to Dublin, and I was nursing, and I retired some years ago. Yeah, I finished up at Clonmel, yeah. So, yeah, I have great memories, yeah, of Clonea. I remember going to Irish dancing over in Paddy Flynn's, you know, there's a little building with steps going up to it. And there were sixpence it was for the dancing. I think, I'm not sure what evening it used to be. But I remember the steps even. We practiced in this room too. What was it? 1, 2, hop 1, 2, 3, jump in, jump back to the side and the front, up and hop back and hop 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the way we remembered how to dance. But it was amazing, it never left me, you know.
Can you do a bit of the dancing?
I don't think I'd be able, I will try, but I'm not sure. Because my knees are not great, but I will certainly try.
Well, try it.
Yeah.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 4. Jump in, jump back to the side and the front, up and up.
I was happy in school, yeah. But if I was disobedient or something, we'd be sent out to the master. I'd got a slap of the cane one time. You go to the master for a slap of the cane outside at the door. Or if you misbehaved, I don't think I was that bold, but if you misbehave, you're put outside the door, and any visitors coming in, parents, they don't see you standing out there, you know. That was enough to keep you away from the door.
You know, at the back of the church, you know the church?
Yes.
Round the back before you go to the cemetery. There's a cemetery in front, but then there's a cemetery up the back where my Power parent relations are buried. There's a very deep, cutting, stone lined, coming down behind Moore's is the farmhouse there.
Yes.
I don't know who's there now.
Yeah,
And that flows down into the Clonea. It meant very dangerous because if you went down the field down there, you could hardly get up out of it.
And did any child ever fall into it?
No, thank God, no.
No.
But there was no talk of health and safety in those days.
No.
tough look if you made a mistake.
Yeah.
Or else, I told you not to go there.
What did you go there for?
Yeah.
Coming to school to light the fire at winter time, we'd have to collect the little breastia sticks. And I will never forget the sound of the crows down in the what do you call the place down there, where the river is. You know, they've cut the trees down now, but we see the crows. And when I hear crows now, it reminds me of Clonea and the school. Yeah.
And you used to have to bring the sticks and stuff to school?
We did, every so often. You'd be told the evening before. We were also bringing a box of sticks for starting the fire. And we dumped them into the coach house underneath the floor, you know.
Underneath, yeah. Lovely.
And then there was turf, a large load of turf was coming along, and to be tipped out on the road here, because there was no white gate for the lorries to go down to the coach house. So we'd all have to spend hours, maybe the next day, running up and down with armfuls of salted turf and chucking them into the coach house, you know.
From about September on, they began to fill the old, the way the school in Clonea is built. It's built, the front looks pretty, it's level with the road, and then the land falls away steeply behind. So you've got a big area in underneath the school proper, which was used for storage. And in there would go the kindling for the winter. And a couple of cartloads of coal would come out from Carrickshire and be stored down there. And then during the winter, it was brought up, and we had open fires. I think, actually, they were still there. The fire was still there, open, when I went on to teach there. And it was an anthracite stove they had, which anthracite was chosen because it's very clean fuel, and you didn't have to have the chimney cleaned out or swept for a long time going back then. And it was also better to heat the room because there was no draft up the chimney, up an open chimney, so that the heat generated from the stove stayed in the room, and that way it was more efficient.
I remember the outdoor toilets there.
I do, I remember them, yeah.
Little hole put on the top of the
That's
toilet.
right, yeah.
And the paper, newspaper.
And Hope Graham was right.
What? Yeah.
A convenience stream was going down the end of the playgrounds into the Clonea, and they built, back, I don't know, 18, whenever it was, when the school was over there for it, they built these two toilets out over the water. And in the summertime with our shoes off, we used to go paddling in the, now you can imagine.
That's when you were a child
When
there.
I was a child. Oh, I used to hope so.
Name is PJ Maher. I haven't much connections with Clonea Power because I didn't go to school there. But my grandmother comes from Hurley's Hill, just up the road here, and my grandfather comes from Moomanon, just about 2 miles up the road to the right. And my grandmother and grandfather told me various stories about Clonea Power when I was coming up. In particular, my grandmother tells me about the times that the Black and Tans, she lived in a little cottage just across over the bridge, on the left of the bridge. When she was pulled out by the hair of the head, And they broke all the windows in the little cottage because they were looking for my grandfather, who was a member of the volunteers at the time. So like they didn't find him, but by God they done some damage to the house. So that will tell you why I was brought up very Republican. Then my mother, who comes from Clonea here, and my father comes from the border in Dungarvan. And again, he was a very Republican man. He was, well, as a young fella, I was showing me down where Keaton in the ambush was shot, and all the marks on the gate where the bullets hit. So like you can see why I was very Republican. I wasn't a member of the IRA or anything like that, but I had great time for the Irish volunteers, the men that brought us our freedom. And the stories of Clonea Power, like my grandfather told me about the first bishop that went to Africa, came from just up the road here. Pat Murphy now lives in the house. Then we had Lacandara, the famous hermit of the Cummins. He used to come down here. He comes from Lacandara. That's why he was christened Lacandara, Fitzgerald. And he has come down here for his pension from the war. So like he was shell-shocked, and he lived just out here on Coolnahorna, dug out under a rock, where he used to creep in the night, lined it all with wool. And he used to creep in the night, pull in a bit of bracken after him. That's how he was, so no vermin could get into him.
Murphy from Ballyneedle, and actually the school here, we're in Ballyneedle, and the church is also in the townsland of Ballyneedle. I suppose I started in 1943, you were born in 38, you see, so probably 43, 44 or something like that. Yeah. I remember the war nearly being finished, you know, because, I mean, at home, you'd be told you can't have such a thing because of the war, nothing was available because of the war.
Did you like school, Pat?
School was fine.
Yeah.
Because you had the company of all your mates, you know.
Who were you sitting beside? Can you remember?
I sure it varied a lot. I mean, it changed all the time. Yeah. You didn't really beside one person all the time. So kind of when you come into school, you sat beside somebody who was already in the desk, you know, or something like that.
And was it 2 or 3 to the seat? Is that the way it went?
Oh, two.
Just two.
To the seat. Yeah. And your school bag was shoved in underneath there, you know, kind of a shelf for your school bag. Yeah. And I can remember, but the iron legs on the desks, if you went up and got, you know, maybe slaps, two or 4 slaps, you come down and you'd be catching the cold iron to cool down the sting in your hands out of the ash pans. When the priest would call in to have a chat with Mrs. Sullivan or Paddy Joe, they'd come to the door and give a little knock. I suppose they all had their own type of knock.
Special knock, yeah.
When Paddy Joe would know who was there hours ago, and he'd be gone for hours. And the Guillory wheel had beside the classroom. Yeah. Every so often, he'd do what Jeffy said there, put his head in the door, shout, "Queuing us." Yeah, they would queue us for a minute or two, and then it would all start up again.
I came to Clonea in 1972, and I went farming then in Liverpool, and I got into cows then in 1973. Yes, I was going to that for a couple of years, and then we got bigger into cows, and we got a big bull tank in the 1980s. And we lived there for 3 years, till 2009 was it? Yeah, 2009 we gave up, we went into livestock then. That's what we've had since.
The Children of Mary. We used to meet in the school here once a month on a Sunday afternoon after dinner, we'll say. Our dinner was in midday that time. And then after that we'd go down to the church for the, what do you call it, the hymns, benediction, yeah. So, and Joan, my sister, she used to go to the Children of Mary as well. And she's a lifelong member, like she still has a medal that she got. And once a year then, we had the crowning of Our Lady in May. And that time, the statue of Our Lady, it is still in the church, I think. You brought it all around the church, and somebody was picked to crown Our Lady. It was a lovely ceremony, and the Children of Mary always followed the statue on the way around the church, outside.
And then the old building was partitioned, and the partition was concertina partition, that you could undo it at one wall, and the whole thing would push over to the other wall, and it left double the space. And they used to use that for concerts and for plays, and that's how that. And we were delighted with that, of course, because we got the job, first of all, of getting it ready on a Friday, which wasn't lessons, and then putting it right again on Monday morning, which again wasn't lessons. But that bad winter 47, 48 was very wet, and 47 before it was very cold. The last snowfall there was very heavy. It blew from the northeast across the fields, across the fences. So it blew the snow off the field, piled it on the other side of the fence. So and if the wind came that way and the road was this way, it filled the road with snow. And just outside our gate up there, there was a huge drift of snow, and being light, and it froze on it, I was able to go up on top of it. Yeah.
Did you still go to school through it, or did you get a holiday from school?
We got some holidays then.
Yes, yeah.
But there were tough times in those days, you know. Yeah. We didn't realise it. To us, that was normal.
Yes.
That was the old normal.
Yes.
Just looking at some of the photographs there, and there was a lot of children with no shoes.
That's right.
Even ones from quite affluent families, I thought.
Exactly.
Tell me about the story about that.
Because it was considered babyish. In fact, we'd be vying with each other to know who was going to let the shoes off first. Sometimes we miscalculated, and the frost wasn't all gone. Also, in those days, the roads were very rough, and the county council's way of filling potholes was bring along a cart full of stones about that size, just shovel them into the hole, and not even roll them in. And you know, with no shoes on, what can happen? You kick a stone, and you've got a bloody toenail.
Did you remember moving out of the old school then? What was it like leaving the old school building and then moving up the road?
We left all the old desks, all the old furniture behind us, because the new school was equipped with tables and chairs that you have now in schools. First of all, it was more sanitary. You know, you had proper toilets now, and you had a bigger playground all round, and it was level. If you look at where the old school is down in Clonea, across the road then, a bit further up, is the school that was replaced it, and the land around behind it that is level.
Oh yeah, I was painting a house at the time. How I got these desks. These are genuine out of Clonea Power. I was painting a house at the time. No names of the people I was painting the house from, but they didn't come up with the money for painting the house. But they said, "There's 2 desks. We can give them to you." And I said, so I took the 2 desks, and that's how I had them for so long. And I was delighted when I was asked, would I be able, had I any desks out of Clonea Power? And that's how they became. I done them up and brought them down here.
Oh, smashing, yeah.
Oh, well, you see, age, it may take your hair and all that, but it can never take your skills. Oh. Yeah, you know. I'd be skillful today as I was when I was 20.
Bill Keane.
Yes.
And afterwards, when I went on to teach there, it was still operating as not so much as a blacksmith, but not what you call a farrier nowadays, you know. There weren't many horses being shod by then, but repairing ploughs and repairing anything iron, harrows, bring them into Bill Keane, start up big bellows by the size of the table, and a big handle out of it like that. And we'll have to go in and be allowed to blow the fire, because the air came in a little tunnel out and under the fire, and you got the job to do that. It was usually on the end of the big handle of the bellows was a cow's horn for the grip, and of course that got polished. It was very, all these little things that, little details that you would, only you got me thinking about it there now. I'd forgotten about all these things. Yeah.
I remember myself and two younger brothers, Gerald, who's here today as well. We were both, or all three of us, brought down to Waterford to have suits made. I think Gerald and I were going for confirmation, and Paul was for communion, I suppose. We all got decked out in the same cloth.
Well, all my family, or most of my family, are around here. I don't live here. I live in Carrick-on-Suir now. Yeah, I was living in Clonmel for nearly 50 years because I work there. Yeah, so I'm just visiting today. Yeah, and it's nice to meet all the people. Yeah, they wouldn't have met for years,
But when I was going to school, I suppose I probably had brains enough, but Paddy Joe got papers for a scholarship. You get 5 years free education above in Dungarvan and the Augustinian College. And I never showed them the thing at home.
There was a spot on the way home when I went up the hill there to leave the school in the evening. Went down by the bridge, crossed the bridge from the school, up then to the right, up towards the mountain. And there was a spot on there where you could look down on the river. You were quite high up over it. The White Wall, we called it. It was no longer white, and wasn't white, even became less and less white while I was there. But apparently it had been whitewashed. I don't know for what reason, and it was always referred to as the White Wall. But that's a pocket history of me.
Okay, it's wonderful.
I have no bad memories of Clonea, and it's nice to be back, to be allowed to be back to tell the tale. Yeah.